Hi, welcome to the monthly outlook for fixed income for May 2023. Over the last 1 month, we have seen rates continue the significant rally that we have been seeing since March. This has largely been on the back of the regional bank crisis that we saw in the US, which started with the Silicon Valley Bank. With the Silicon Valley Bank, in total, we have seen three regional banks fall down and many more continue to be under pressure. Whilst this has not led to a systemic crisis, but this has caused a crisis of confidence. On the other hand, if you look at the other data, especially in terms of growth, in US growth data, the GDP came in a little downbeat. But if you went to look into the particulars of the data seem to be strong. On the labor market also, it has become easy to get jobs over there, but the number of job openings have fallen down that we see in over the last 6 months. Flash PMIs across the world are showing an upside surprise. If you look at the Eurozone, in the Eurozone also GDP growth has been flat, which has been defying the recession bets that were being placed a while back. And the PMI data continues to be strong over there. For China also, you are seeing that the growth data and the PMIs are continuing to be showing strong. For inflation across the world continues to be on the higher end, although the momentum of inflation has fallen down. But if you look at the levels where which central banks will be comfortable to sit on the table and maybe discuss rate cuts, that doesn't seem to be on the table, at least globally. Now, if we look at India's condition, so India on the growth side is showing very resilient growth. If we look at the high frequency data, especially let's say GST, our GST collection for the month of April came in at 1.87 lakh crores, which is one of the highest since the series or the GST collection started. If you look at your services PMI or maybe overall PMI came in at 61.6, which is a very, very strong number that we are seeing for India. So our growth recovery that we are seeing is very broad based and our growth remains resilient. This was also commented by the governor during the last monetary policy that they are okay with India's growth and India's growth remains resilient vis-a-vis what they would have been comparing with the world. If you look at inflation data, inflation in India is moderating. So inflation last came in at 5.66%. This month it is likely that inflation will come sub 5%. And overall for the average April to June quarter, RBI is expecting India's inflation, that is CPI headline print, to come in at 5.1%, whereas we expect that it can undershoot RBI's expectation of 5.1%. With this kind of a backdrop given in place, RBI is more likely to continue the pause in its monetary policy, which they announced last time, and India's terminal rate, which was at 6.5%, will continue over there. With so much strong growth, there is also some signs of weakening which we see in the import-export or the trade data that we are seeing. So trade data has been coming in weaker and continues to be weak. Although your services exports continues to be strong, which will allow RBI to focus on domestic conditions. With this backdrop, what we are expecting is that the terminal rate continues to be at 6.5%, and conditions for monetary easing are not in place right now. So we are in for a higher for longer condition in terms of rates, especially in a country like India. And in this backdrop, investors should follow a cruel kind of strategy, and the belly of the curve, which is 2 to 5 years, is offering attractive nominal yields for investors to lock in and invest right now in the fixed income space. Within the fixed income space, what we are recommending is that for investors having 2 to 6 month kind of horizon can invest in the ultra short term category of fund, and investors having a larger horizon of more than 6 months can invest in our floating rate fund, and investors having a 1 year plus kind of horizon can look at our short term funds for investment right now.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार के जोखिमों के अधीन है। स्कीम संबंधी सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।